For people who don't know, can you explain how the Link app works? You have an amazing stream on the topic. Your first stream, I think, on X, describing the app. Can you just describe how it works?
Yeah, so it's just an app that Neuralink created to help me interact with the computer. So on the Link app, there are a few different settings and different modes and things I can do on it. So there's like the body mapping, which we kind of touched on. There's a calibration. Calibration is how I actually get cursor control. So calibrating what's going on in my brain to translate that into cursor control. So it will pop out models. What they use, I think, is like time. So it would be 5 minutes in calibration will give me so good of a model, and then if I'm in it for 10 minutes and 15 minutes, the models will progressively get better. And so the longer I'm in it, generally the better the models will get.
That's really cool because you often refer to the models.
Yeah.
So the model is the thing that's constructed once you go through the calibration step.
Yeah.
And then you also talked about sometimes you'll play like a really difficult game like Snake just to see how good the model is.
Yeah. So Snake is kind of like my litmus test for models. If I can control Snake decently well, then I know I have a pretty good model. So yeah, the Link app has all of those. It has WebGrid in it now. It's also how I like connect to the computer just in general. So they've given me a lot of like voice controls with it at this point. So I can, say like connect or implant disconnect. And as long as I have that charger handy, then I can connect to it. So the charger is also how I connect to the Link app to connect to the computer. I have to have the implant charger over my head when I want to connect to have it wake up because the implant's in hibernation mode, like always when I'm not using it. I think there's a setting to like wake it up every, so long. So we could set it to half an hour or 5 hours or something if I just want it to wake up periodically. So yeah, I'll like connect to the Link app and then go through all sorts of things, calibration for the day, maybe body mapping. I made them give me like a little homework tab because I am very forgetful and I forget to do things a lot. So I have like a lot of data collection things that they want me to do.
Is the body mapping part of the data collection or is that also part of the calibration?
Yeah, it is. It's something that they want me to do daily, which I've been slacking on because I've been doing so much media and traveling and so much. So I've been
super famous.
Yeah, I've been a terrible first candidate for how much I've been slacking on my homework. But yeah, it's just something that they want me to do every day to, track how well the Neuralink is performing over time and have something to give. I imagine to give to the FDA to, create all sorts of fancy charts and stuff and show like, hey, this is what the Neuralink, this is how it's performing, day 1 versus day 90 versus day 180 and things like that.
What's the calibration step like? Is it like move left, move right?
It's a bubble game. So there will be like yellow bubbles that pop up on the screen. At first, it is open loop. So open loop, this is something that I still don't fully understand, the open loop and closed loop thing.
Me and Bliss talked for a long time about the difference between the two on the technical side.
Okay.
So it'd be great to hear your side of the story.
Open loop is basically I have no control over the cursor. The cursor will be moving on its own across the screen, and I am following by intention the cursor to different bubbles, and then the algorithm is training off of what like the signals it's getting are as I'm doing this. There are a couple different ways that they've done it. They call it center out target. So there will be a bubble in the middle and then 8 bubbles around that, and the cursor will go from the middle to one side. So say middle to left, back to middle to up to middle, like up right, and they'll do that all the way around the circle, and I will follow that cursor the whole time, and then it will train off of my intentions what it is expecting my intentions to be throughout the whole process.
Can you actually speak to when you say follow.
Yes.
You don't mean with your eyes, you mean with your intentions.
Yeah. So generally for calibration, I'm doing attempted movements because I think it works better. I think the better models as I progress through calibration make it easier to use imagine movements.
Wait. So calibrated on attempted movement will create a model that makes it really effective for you to then use the force.
Yes. I've tried doing calibration with imagined movement, and it just doesn't work as well for some reason. So that was the center out targets. There's also one where, a random target will pop up on the screen and it's the same. I just like move, I follow along with wherever the cursor is to that target all across the screen. I've tried those with imagined movement, and for some reason the models just don't um, they don't give as high level as quality when we get into closed loop. I haven't played around with it a ton, so maybe like the different ways that we're doing calibration now might make it a bit better. But what I've found is there will be a point in calibration where I can use imagine movement. Before that point, it doesn't really work. So if I do calibration for 45 minutes, the first 15 minutes, I can't use imagine movement. It just like doesn't work for some reason. And after a certain point, I can just sort of feel it. I can tell it moves different. That's the best way I can describe it. Like it's almost as if it is anticipating what I am going to do again before I go to do it. And so using attempted movement for 15 minutes, at some point I can kind of tell when I like move my eyes to the next target that the cursor is starting to like pick up, like it's starting to understand, it's learning like what I'm going to do.
So first of all, it's really cool that, you are a true pioneer in all of this. You're like exploring how to do every aspect of this most effectively. And there's just, I imagine so many lessons learned from this. So thank you for being a pioneer in all these kinds of different, like super technical ways. And it's also cool to hear that there's like a different like feeling to the experience when it's calibrated in different ways. Like just because I imagine your brain is doing something different. And that's why there's a different feeling to it. And then trying to find the words and the measurements to those feelings would be also interesting. But at the end of the day, you can also measure your actual performance on whether it's Snake or WebGrid. You can see like what actually works well. And you're saying for the open loop calibration, the attempted movement works best for now.
Yep.
So the open loop, you don't get the feedback that you did something.
Yeah,
Is that frustrating?
Or? No, it makes sense to me. Like we've done it with a cursor and without a cursor in open loop. So sometimes it's just say for like the center out, you'll start calibration with a bubble lighting up, and I push towards that bubble, and then when that bubble, when it's pushed towards that bubble for say 3 seconds, a bubble will pop, and then I come back to the middle. So I'm doing it all just by my intentions. Like that's what it's learning anyway. So it makes sense that as long as I follow what they want me to do, like follow the yellow brick road, that it'll all work out.
You're full of great references. Is the bubble game fun? Like,
yeah, they always feel so bad making me do calibration. Like, oh, we're about to do, a 40-minute calibration. I'm like, all right, like, do you guys want to do 2 of them? Like, I'm always asking to, like, whatever they need, I'm more than happy to do. And it's not bad. Like, I get to lie there and, or sit in my chair and like do these things with some great people. I get to have great conversations. I can give them feedback. I can talk about all sorts of things. I could throw something on my TV in the background and kind of like split my attention between them. Like it's not bad at all. I don't
Is there
mind
a score that you get? Like, can you do better on the bubble game?
No, I would love that. I would love,
Writing
love to
down
say
suggestions from Noland.
that's
Make it more fun, gamified.
yeah, that's one thing that I really, really enjoy about WebGrid
Yeah.
is because I'm so competitive. Like the higher the BPS, the higher the score, I know the better I'm doing. And so if I think I've asked at one point one of the guys, like if he could give me some sort of numerical feedback for calibration, like I would like to know what they're looking at. Like, oh, it is, we see like this number while you're doing calibration. And that means, at least on our end, that we think calibration is going well. Um, and I would love that because I would like to know if what I'm doing is going well or not. But then they've also told me like, yeah, not necessarily like 1-to-1. It doesn't actually mean that calibration is going well in some ways. So it's not like 100%, and they don't want to like skew what I'm experiencing or want me to change things based on that if that number isn't always accurate to like how the model will turn out or how like the end result. That's at least what I got from it. One thing I have asked them, and something that I really enjoy striving for, is towards the end of calibration, there is like a time between targets. And so I like to keep like at the end, that number as low as possible. So at the beginning, it can be, 4, 5, 6 seconds between me popping bubbles. But towards the end, I like to keep it below like 1.5, or if I could get it to like 1 second between like bubbles, because in my mind, that translates really nicely to something like WebGrid, where I know if I can hit a target one every second, that I'm doing real, real well.
There you go. That's the way to get a score on the calibrations, like the speed.
Yeah.
How quickly can you get from bubble to bubble?
Yeah.
So there's the open loop, and then it goes to the closed loop. And the closed loop can already start giving you a sense because you're getting feedback of like how good the model is.
Yeah. So closed loop is when I first get cursor control, and how they've described it to me, someone who does not understand this stuff. I am the dumbest person in the room every time I'm with any of these guys.
Humility, I appreciate it.
Is that I am closing the loop. So I am actually now the one that is like finishing the loop of whatever this loop is. I don't even know what the loop is. They've never told me. They just say there is a loop, and at one point it's open and I can't control, and then I get control and it's closed. So I'm finishing the loop.
So how long the calibration usually take? You said like 10, 15 minutes.
Well, yeah, they're trying to get that number down pretty low. That's what we've been working on a lot recently, is getting that down as low as possible. So that way, if this is something that people need to do on a daily basis, or if some people need to do on a like every other day basis or once a week, they don't want people to be sitting in calibration for long periods of time. I think they wanted to get it down 7 minutes or below, at least where we're at right now. It'd be nice if you never had to do calibration. So we'll get there at some point, I'm sure, the more we learn about the brain. And I think that's, the dream. I think right now, for me to get like really, really good models, I'm in calibration 40 or 45 minutes. And I don't mind. Like I said, they always feel really bad, but if it's going to get me a model that can like break these records on WebGrid, I'll stay in it for flipping 2 hours.
Let's talk business. So WebGrid. I saw a presentation where Bliss said by March, you selected 89,000 targets in WebGrid. Can you explain this game? What is WebGrid, and what does it take to be a world-class performer in WebGrid as you continue to break world records?
Yeah.
It's like a gold medalist talk. Well,
yeah, I'd like to thank
exactly.
everyone who's helped me get here, my coaches, my parents, for driving me to practice every day at 5 a.m. I'd like to thank God, and just overall my dedication to my craft.
The interviews with athletes are always like that exact. Yeah. It's like that template. So WebGrid is a
grid
cells.
It's literally just a grid. They can make it as big or small as you can make a grid. A single box on that grid will light up and you go and click it. And it is a way for them to benchmark how good a BCI is. So it's, pretty straightforward. You just click targets.
Only one blue cell appears and you're supposed to move the mouse to there and click on it.
So I like playing on like bigger grids because the bigger the grid, the like more BPS, it's bits per second that you get every time you click one. So I'll say I'll play on like a 35 by 35 grid, and then one of those little squares, cell, call it target, whatever, will light up, and you move the cursor there and you click it, and then you do that forever.
And you've been able to achieve at first 8 bits per second, and you've recently broke that.
Yeah, I'm at 8.5 right now. I would have beaten that literally the day before I came to Austin, but I had like a 5-second lag right at the end, and I just had to wait until the latency calmed down, and then I kept clicking. But I was at like 8.01, and then 5 seconds of lag, and then the next like 3 targets I clicked all stayed at 8.01. So if I would have been able to click during that time of lag, I probably would have hit, I don't know, I might have hit 9. So I'm there. I'm really close. And then this whole Austin trip has really gotten in the way of my WebGrid playing ability.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's all you're thinking about right now?
Yeah, I know. I want to do better.
At 9.
I want to do better. I want to hit 9. I know 9 is very, very achievable. I'm right there. I think 10 I could hit maybe in the next month. Like I could do it probably in the next few weeks if I really push.
I think you and Elon are basically the same person, because last time I did a podcast with him, he came in extremely frustrated that he can't beat Uber Lilith as a droid. That was like a year ago, I think. Yeah. I forget, like solo.
Yeah.
And I could just tell there's some percentage of his brain the entire time was thinking like, I wish I was right now attempting.
Yeah. I think he did it that
He did it that night.
Yeah.
He stayed up and did it that night.
Yeah.
It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in a fundamental way, it's really inspiring. And what you're doing is inspiring in that way, because I mean, it's not just about the game. Everything you're doing there has impact. By striving to do well on WebGrid, you're helping everybody figure out how to create the system all along, like the decoding, the software, the hardware, the calibration, all of it, how to make all of that work so you can do everything else really well.
Yeah, it's just really fun.
Well, that's part of the thing, is like making it fun.
Yeah, it's addicting. I've joked about like what they actually did when they went in and put this thing in my brain. They must have flipped a switch to make me more susceptible to these kinds of games, to make me addicted to like WebGrid or something.
Yeah.
Do you know Bliss's high score?
Yeah, he said like 14 or something.
17.
Oh boy.
17.1 or something. 17.01.
17 on the dot. 17.01.
Yeah.
He told me he like does it on the floor with peanut butter, and he like fasts. It's weird. It sounds like cheating. Sounds like performance enhancing.
Noland, like the first time Noland played this game, he asked, how good are we at this game? And I mean, I think you told me right then you're gonna try to beat me.
I'm gonna get there someday.
Yeah,
I think
I fully believe you.
I think I can.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So I've been playing first off with the dwell cursor, which really hampers my WebGrid playing ability. Basically, I have to wait 0.3 seconds for every click.
Oh, so you can't do the click. So you have to. So you click by dwelling. Mm-hmm. You said 0.3?
0.3 seconds, which sucks. It really slows down how much I'm able to, like, how high I'm able to get.
Yeah.
I still hit like 50. I think I hit like 50 something net trials per minute in that, which was pretty good. Because I'm able to like, there's one of the settings is also like how slow you need to be moving in order to initiate a click, to start a click. So I can tell sort of when I'm on that threshold to start initiating a click just a bit early. So I'm not fully stopped over the target when I go to click. I'm doing it like on my way to the targets a little to try to time it just right.
Wow. Yeah. So you're slowing down.
Yeah, just a hair right before the targets.
This is like elite performance. Oh, okay. But that's still, it sucks that there's a ceiling of the 0.3.
Well, I can get down to 0.2 and 0.1. 0.1's what and I've played with that a little bit too. I have to adjust a ton of different parameters in order to play with 0.1, and I don't have control over all of that on my end yet. It also changes like how the models are trained. Like if I train a model, like in WebGrid, like I bootstrap on a model, which basically is them training models as I'm playing WebGrid, based off of like the WebGrid data that so like if I play WebGrid for 10 minutes, they can train off that data specifically in order to get me a better model. If I do that with 0.3 versus 0.1, the models come out different. The way that they interact it's just much, much different. So I have to be really careful. I found that doing it with 0.3 is actually better in some ways, unless I can do it with 0.1 and change all of the different parameters. Then that's more ideal because obviously 0.3 is faster than 0.1. So I could get there. I can get there.
Can you click using your brain?
For right now, it's the hover clicking with the dwell cursor. Before all the thread retraction stuff happened, we were calibrating clicks, left click, right click. That was my previous ceiling before I broke the record again with the dwell cursor was, I think, on a 35 by 35 grid with left and right click. And you get more BPS, more bits per second using multiple clicks because it's more difficult.
Oh, because what is it? You're supposed to do either a left click or a right click.
Yes.
Is it different color or something like this?
Yeah, blue
Cool.
targets for left click,
Cool.
orange targets for right click is what they had done.
Got it.
So my previous record of 7.5
was with the
was
two
with
clicks.
the blue and the orange targets, yeah. Which I think if I went back to that now, doing the click calibration, I would be able to, and being able to like initiate clicks on my own, I think I would break that 10 ceiling like in a couple days max. Like,
Yeah, you would start making Bliss nervous about
Yeah.
his 17.
I mean, he
whatever.
should
Why do you
be.
think we haven't given him the?
Exactly. So what did it feel like with the retractions that there is some of the threads retracted?
It sucked. It was really, really hard. The day they told me was the day of my big Neuralink tour at their Fremont facility. They told me like right before we went over there. It was really hard to hear. My initial reaction was, all right, go in, fix it. Like go in, take it out and fix it. The first surgery was so easy. Like I went to sleep. A couple hours later, I woke up and here we are. I didn't feel any pain, didn't take like any pain pills or anything. So I just knew that if they wanted to, they could go in and put in a new one like next day if that's what it took. Because I wanted it to be better and I wanted not to lose the capability. I had so much fun playing with it for a few weeks, for a month. I had like it had opened up so many doors for me. It had opened up so many more possibilities that I didn't want to lose it after a month. I thought it would have been a cruel twist of fate if I had gotten to see the view from like the top of this mountain and then have it all come crashing down after a month. And I knew like say the top of the mountain, but how I saw it was I was just now starting to climb the mountain and there was so much more that I knew was possible. And so to have all of that be taken away was really, really hard. But then on the drive over to the facility, I don't know, like 5-minute drive, whatever it is, I talked with my parents about it. I prayed about it. I was just like, I'm not going to let this ruin my day. I'm not going to let this ruin this amazing like tour that they have set up for me. Like I want to go show everyone how much I appreciate all the work they're doing. I want to go like meet all of the people who have made this possible. And I want to go have one of the best days of my life. And I did. And it was amazing. And it absolutely was one of the best days I've ever been privileged to experience. And then for a few days, I was pretty down in the dumps. But for like the first few days afterwards, I was just like, I didn't know if it was ever going to work again. And then I made the decision that even if I lost the ability to use the Neuralink, even if I lost out on everything to come, if I could keep giving them data in any way, then I would do that. If I needed to just do like some of the data collection every day or body mapping every day for a year, then I would do it. Because I know that everything I'm doing helps everyone to come after me. And that's all I wanted. I guess the whole reason that I did this was to help people. And I knew that anything I could do to help, I would continue to do. Even if I never got to use the cursor again, then, I was just happy to be a part of it. and everything that I had done was just a perk. It was something that I got to experience, and I know how amazing it's going to be for everyone to come after me. So might as well just keep trucking along, you know?
Well, that said, you were able to get to work your way up to get the performance back. So this is like going from Rocky 1 to Rocky 2. So when did you first realize that this is possible, and what gave you sort of the strength, the motivation, the determination to do it, to increase back up and beat your previous record?
Yeah, it was within a couple weeks. Like
Again, this feels like I'm interviewing an athlete. This is great. I like to thank my parents.
The road back was long and hard, fraught with many difficulties. There were dark days. It was a couple weeks, I think, and then there was just a turning point. I think they had switched how they were measuring the neuron spikes in my brain, like the Bliss, help me out.
Yeah, the way in which we were measuring the behavior of individual neurons.
Yeah.
So we're switching from sort of individual spike detection to something called spike band power, which if you watch the previous segments with either me or DJ, you probably have some context.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did that, it was kind of like light over the head, like light bulb moment, like, oh, this works. And this seems like we can run with this. And I saw the uptick in performance immediately. Like I could feel it when they switched over. I was like, this is better. Like this is good. Like everything up till this point for the last few weeks, last like whatever 3 or 4 weeks, because it was before they even told me, like everything before this sucked. Like let's keep doing what we're doing now. And at that point, it was not like, oh, I know I'm still only at like, say in WebGrid terms, like 4 or 5 BPS compared to my 7.5 before. But I know that if we keep doing this, then like I can get back there. And then they gave me the dwell cursor, and the dwell cursor sucked at first. It's obviously not what I want, but it gave me a path forward to be able to continue using it and hopefully to continue to help out. And so I just ran with it, never looked back. Like I said, I'm just kind of person, I roll with the punches anyway. So
what was the process? What was the feedback loop on the figuring out how to do the spike detection in a way that would actually work well for Noland?
Yeah, it's a great question. So maybe just to describe first how the actual update worked. It was basically an update to your implant. So we just did an over-the-air software update to his implant, same way you'd update your Tesla or your iPhone. And that firmware change enabled us to record sort of averages of populations of neurons nearby an individual electrode. So we have sort of less resolution about which individual neuron is doing what, but we have a broader picture of what's going on nearby an electrode overall. And that feedback loop, I mean, basically, as Nolan described it, was immediate when we flipped that switch. I think the first day we did that, you hit 3 or 4 BPS right out of the box. And that was a light bulb moment for, okay, this is the right path to go down. And from there, there's a lot of feedback around like how to make this useful for independent use. So what we care about ultimately is that you can use it independently to do whatever you want. And to get to that point, it required us to re-engineer the UX, as you talked about with the dwell cursor, to make it something that you can use independently without us needing to be involved all the time. And this is obviously the start of this journey still. Hopefully we get back to the places where you're doing multiple clicks and using that to control much more fluidly everything and much more naturally the applications that you're trying to interface with.
And most importantly, get that WebGrid number up.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how's on the hover click, do you accidentally click stuff sometimes?
Yep.
Like how hard is it to avoid accidentally clicking?
I have to continuously keep it moving, basically. So like I said, there's a threshold where it will initiate a click. So if I ever drop below that, it'll start, and I have 0.3 seconds to move it before it clicks anything. Okay. And if I don't want it to ever get there, I just keep it moving at a certain speed and like just constantly like doing circles on screen, moving it back and forth to keep it from clicking stuff. I actually noticed a couple weeks back that when I was not using the implant, I was just moving my hand back and forth or in circles. Like I was trying to keep the cursor from clicking, and I was just doing it like while I was trying to go to sleep. And I was like, okay, this is a problem.
To avoid the clicking. I guess, does that create problems like when you're gaming, accidentally click a thing? Like
Yeah, it happens in chess. I've lost a number of games because I'll accidentally click something.
I think the first time I ever beat you was because of an accidental
misclick. Yeah.
It's a nice excuse, right?
Yeah,
You can
it
always,
is. It's
anytime you
great.
lose, you could just say,
Perfect.
that
Yeah.
was accidental.